Mr. Benjamin David Goodman. Born in 1909 in Chicago, of parents who immigrated from Russia, the father, and Poland, the mother. They were both Jewish parents, and they met in Baltimore and moved to Chicago to get a better life. We talked about Chicago earlier, how there was manufacturing, meat packing, and railroads and whatnot, and you could make a good living there. Well, the Goodman family was not one of those well-to-do families. They lived in the poorer section of Chicago near the railroads. But the father loved his 9 children. Benny was number 5 of 9. And on Sundays, he would take them to hear free concerts in the park so that they would hear professional music. Early in his life, young Benjamin was treated to music lessons, eventually settled on the clarinet, and took clarinet lessons from the principal clarinetist in the Chicago Symphony. So Dad may have been poor, but he did not take second best for his children. He made the sacrifice to give them the very, very best. Young Benjamin grew up as a great classical clarinetist. He soon discovered jazz by hanging out with Jimmy Noon and Brother Dodge, who were great New Orleans clarinet players. He started picking up that jazzy New Orleans flavor on the Albert System clarinet. As a very young kid, very early in his teens, tragedy struck the family. The father was killed while stepping off of a streetcar as he was leaving his job, headed home. And that left the family with its chief breadwinner gone. Young Benjamin, who was very, very talented, started playing in little bands around Chicago, eventually bigger bands, eventually got a union card at 15, and by 17 was playing in professional orchestras. Along the way, he met a lot of the great musicians like Louis Armstrong, like Big Beiderbecke, and people like that who were on the jazz scene. He also, at some point in life, must have met Fletcher Henderson. We think that took place in New York because Fletcher had started in Chicago, but he eventually moved to New York to do big ballrooms there. Benny ended up in New York as well, playing as a sideman with young musicians like Tommy Dorsey and Glenn Miller. Before they had big bands, any of them, they were just playing gigs and doing recordings. And those are the guys he hung out with. As he grew in fame, he decided he needed to do bigger things with his band. During the Depression, after the Depression, Fletcher Henderson had to shut his band down for the economics. Benny immediately hired Mr. Henderson to write the arrangements for his band, and went even further by hiring musicians from Fletcher Henderson's band to teach the musicians in his band so they would play this wonderful music with the greatest authenticity possible. Early arrangements written by Fletcher Henderson were very, very successful. Matter of fact, it was so successful that tunes like Cole Porter's Stomp caused people to jump out of their seats in these concert halls and dance in the aisles. And at a ballroom setting out in Oakland, California, the entire audience jumped to its feet and started dancing between their chairs and in the aisles and everywhere else. And this launched the swing era. And Mr. Benjamin David Goodman became the king of swing, baby. And he kept Fletcher on his staff as arranger. As a matter of fact, his biggest hit, Sing, 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 was written by Fletcher Henderson. Now, Benny did not forget where he came from. He put the first integrated group in public at the height of his career. This could have ended not just his career, but his life, because America was very, very racially segregated at that time. But he did it. His concert at Carnegie Hall in 1938 was called the Concert of the Century because it brought this new music to a wider audience and it gave it some respectability and acceptance. Carnegie Hall, baby, what could be wrong with this jazz? He continued to work with musicians regardless of color. He introduced us to Billie Holiday. The first recording she ever made was with Benny Goodman. So Benny Goodman was not just a great musician who came from humble backgrounds to become the king of swing, who never forgot where he came from, but he was a man that helped move this country forward in terms of the racial divide that we have had since the inception of this nation. So hats off to Benny Goodman, the king of swing, and a man who helped America find its better angels. Benjamin David Goodman, 1909 to 1986. By the way, his music producer was John Hammond. They were a very close partnership. Johnny Hammond had no idea why Benny spent so many hours at his house until he discovered that Benny had married his little sister. Ha 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 ha. Benny Goodman, the king of swing. Thank you.